What's going on YouTube? So since we first reviewed this new generation of the GLE way back in February of 2019, the lineup has expanded substantially to now include 5 different models. What we have with us today is the latest edition, the GLE 53 AMG, which basically combines the things we love about the GLE 450, but with more performance and looks straight from the 63 AMG. So with that all said, let's go ahead and see if this is the best combination of luxury and performance. So if you've seen any of the recent AMG models, it's very clear right from the start that this is part of the AMG family. I say that because the fascia is totally different. So what you've got is that typical AMG grille. So instead of the horizontal bars, you now have the vertical bars, which just signify that AMG lineage. Now in this specific example, the 53 is already going to have a more aggressive lower fascia, but we also have the night package. So that's going to black out some of the elements on the splitter as well as over here. It's a little hard to tell since this is a black example, but normally some of this would also be chrome. Now coming over here to your headlights, you have the advanced full LED headlights with adaptive abilities as standard equipment on the GLE 53. And as you can see, it does have a lovely design. Now of course, as you would expect, the performance looks do continue over here at the wheels since you have a full gamut of selections of performance AMG wheels. So you start with 20-inch alloys, you get several different choices. We've got the 21-inch alloys, again, several different choices in that size category. And then you also have several different choices of 22-inch alloys if you really want that full, like 63 AMG look. Now up here on the side, you've got some special turbo branding. And then coming up here to the mirrors, they are of course fully loaded with all the features. So you have heating, power folding, auto dimming, as well as blind spot monitoring.
Now before we get around to the sporty rear design of this GLE, I do want to point out that if you go for that night package, you are going to dark out the window trims to really give it a stealthy look. Now moving around to the rear itself, you're also going to see quite a few changes back here for the 53 model, as well as if you go for the night package. So starting out with the design, you're going to have the same GLE taillights that you normally would. These are fully LED. I'm a really big fan of the design. Dropping down, we have this chrome accent right here. And then in the diffuser, this is where you're really going to see the big difference for the 53 model, since this is going to be a completely different design, and you're going to have quad exhaust outlets pumping out the optional performance exhaust on this one. And once again, if you go for the night package, it is going to be blacked out. And before we talk about these safety systems, I do want to point out one thing for this AMG model, and that's that it's going to tow quite a bit less than the regular 450 model, so just keep that in mind. Now, as far as the safety systems for this GLE 53, you're going to have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection standard. However, you have to option on the more advanced safety systems. So in the Driving Assistance Plus package, you're going to add in a lot of advanced features like active steering assist, as well as the traffic jam assistant. But anyway, guys, that's going to sum up the sporty styling of this AMG GLE 53. So now let's go ahead and hop on the inside where I know there's a ton of luxury before we take it out on a spin. And before we do that, hit that subscribe button down below.
So on the GLE, of course, you will find a standard smart entry system, as well as the newest Mercedes key fob. Of course, here at the 53, though, you will have the AMG design, so you have piano black trim and then darkened metal at the bottom. And then to get inside the vehicle itself, of course, there's a sensor behind the handle, so just grab it. and taking a first peek inside of this cabin. Of course, you have a really beautiful space with the latest GLE design, but you've got some unique AMG touches all throughout the cabin. All right, so now let's talk about the different interior color material options you've got, since you've got quite a few. So you're going to start out with MB Tech synthetic leather. That's going to come in black only, but most of the people are going to option for the Napa leather, which comes in black, tartufo, or classic red colors. Now, what we have on this example is known as the exclusive Napa leather, so that is a little bit nicer and also includes extra leather throughout the cabin. And that's going to come in those same 3 colors, but also a extra beige option. Now, turning over here to your door trim, you're going to notice beautiful materials up here as well. So we have smooth Napa leather across the door trim as well as the upper part with a color contrast stitching detail. We have some beautiful open pore wood. There are 8 different trim options you can choose from on the GLE. And of course, we have our metal speaker grills. Now, as far as the seats, you have lots of different ways of adjustment. By my count, it appears to be about 14 or 16 ways. And we also have standard 3-person memory seating. Up top here, you will notice you have standard heated seats on every GLE. However, ventilation is going to be optional, and rapid heating will also be optional. And then all 4 of your windows will, of course, be one-touch automatic. Now, coming over here to the seats themselves, they are absolutely stunning. Like I said, we have the exclusive Napa leather seating. So we have a quilted Napa leather through the middle here. We have an Alcantara insert, which makes things look nice and sporty, and really good bolsters as well. Now, in this specific example, we also have the optional running boards, which are really just for look, since this is a quite easy vehicle to get inside with or without them. Now, as far as the materials, let me tell you, they are absolutely top-notch. This is really a very, very stunning cabin. So like I mentioned, with the exclusive Napa leather package, we basically have leather in every place that you can touch. So that includes the upper dashboard with the color contrast stitching. Of course, all through the middle here, we have the beautiful open pore wood. And then once you get to the lower areas, this is where you'll notice all the extra Napa leather. It runs all the way down here to the ground level. You have it coming all through here, across your armrest, as well as over here. And then we have more open pore wood that runs through the middle. So absolutely fantastic materials. And start up the GLE, just put your foot on the brake and press the standard push button to start. And after it fires up, you will be greeted by one of the most advanced gauge clusters in the auto industry, the 12.3-inch Mercedes reconfigurable gauge cluster. So, just like in other Mercedes models, you have the touchpad here on the left side of the steering wheel, and you can customize all 3 sections to whatever you want. So you can just cycle between a bunch of different things, like I said, in all 3 sections. And then when you change drive modes as well, the design can change. So really a very advanced and powerful system. Now, in addition to that, you can throw in a head-up display, although this specific example does not have one. Now, coming back to the steering wheel, we have the AMG Performance steering wheel with that specific design. You will also notice we have Dynamica inserts from here to here, and then Napa leather on the bottom and the top. That is an optional feature. As far as the wheel itself, it is going to be power adjusting across every single model. We also have the option of heating, and then you can add heated armrest as well if that's something that you want. And then off on this side, you'll also find the typical Mercedes column-mounted shifter. So operation is, of course, the same as other Mercedes models. So you just press down for drive. You also notice here on the GLE 53, we have beautiful real metal paddle shifters, which feel great in the hand. Now for reverse, you're just going to press up in the opposite direction. And when you do, you will be greeted by this 360-degree camera system if you choose the parking assistance package, which is what we have on this model. As you can see, you have both your 360 view, regular view, and then you've got a bunch of different views you can choose between over there on the other side. And then for park, just press the P. Now, thanks to that column-mounted shifter, it does free up a lot of space inside of this model for storage. So let's start out underneath our center console here. It is very nicely sized, quite deep, and does have a really good felt lining in it. You also find a USB Type-C inside. And just because this is an expensive car does not mean it's exempt from the coupon test. So let's go ahead and try that out. Yeah, they fit in here just fine. Plenty of space for lots of coupons. Now up in front of that, we have another large storage area. We've got 2 cup holders inside, and these are adjustable, like so. You'll also notice we have a wireless phone charging pad that sits right here. This is newly standard across every single GLE for 2021. Then you've got 2 USB Type-Cs right there. Now coming back, you've got a lot of different buttons that surround your MBUX touchpad. So this of course is one of your 3 methods to control the main infotainment system, which we'll talk about in just a second. Further back, you'll find a few more buttons, including to adjust your standard air suspension, your adjustable shocks, and we also have the optional sport exhaust here on this specific example. Now up above that, on this side, you have your volume control. So the 53 AMG skips the bass sound system, goes straight to a 590 watt 13 speaker Burmester surround sound system. So let's go ahead and sample this option. So of course, as you would expect, sound quality is phenomenal. But if for some reason that's not quite enough for you, Mercedes does have an optional 25 speaker Burmester surround sound system. Okay, so let's come up to the climate controls here. So what we got is the standard dual zone automatic setup. There is an optional 4-zone automatic setup available. Operation is super simple. You just click these buttons here to adjust the temperature. It does appear up in the display, and Mercedes does nicely include metal buttons all through here, so you don't have to go into the display to search for things. And now you're seeing the Mercedes MBUX system and the voice assistant, thinking I said "Hey Mercedes" when I just said Mercedes. But that being said, that's one of your features of this system. If you say "Hey Mercedes," it does trigger and have the smart voice assistant. Now on the software side of things, this of course is the same as we've had in other Mercedes models. So you have lots of different features, but one thing I'm noticing that is special about this model I've not yet experienced on a Mercedes is that we have the interior assistant. So basically this is aware of the hand placement by having a camera that's looking down upon me, and you'll notice that like when I go over to something, it does highlight it. There is also gestures that you can program to the system, and it knows if the driver is reaching or the passenger is reaching. So you can actually have separate hand gestures and do separate different things with the system. So that's really a neat touch. Now we'll go into the navigation system here. This is your typical navigation system. You also have the optional virtual reality navigation, which is, like I said, an extra cost option. And moving on from that, we have an auto dimming mirror up top here with your 3 HomeLink universal remotes. Now up at the very top, you will find a standard moonroof. This is your, regular sized option. You can get a panoramic option though if you want to spend an extra $1,000.
Now in the GLE's second row, this is of course going to be a very opulent place to spend time, and there is a lot of space back here. Now as far as your legroom figures, it's going to come in at 41 inches of your legroom, 40 inches of your headroom, which is very, very class competitive, if not at the top end of the segment. So you're looking at a lot of space. And behind your seating position, I would say that's probably like a foot, if not a foot and 3 inches of space, and my feet can easily slide up underneath the seat. Now, as far as the features themselves, here in the center we are going to have standard rear air vents, and as you'll notice on this model, we are missing the climate control, so that is an option. Of course, you can get your own climate controls back here, but we do not have that. Dropping further below, we have some USB Type-Cs, as well as a regular household style outlet. And then off to the side here, You do have heated rear seats. That is a standalone option. And I also want to point out that if you go for the third row option, yes, there is a third row option for this GLE, you will have a six-way power adjusting second row. Now walking up to your tailgate, you are going to have a standard hands-free power one, so just wave your foot under the bumper to open it up. And it does open right up. Now, as far as the space is concerned back here, you're actually going to find a lot of space. So it's rated at 33 cubic feet behind the second row seats, and that expands to 73 cubic feet if you fold it. That is very class competitive. It's larger, of course, than like the Lexus RX if you're looking at that. And as far as how they have it finished back here, we have a nice carpeting along the floor. We have LED lighting along the sides, and you also have a button back here to lower the air suspension for you to load stuff in. Now, if we lift up the floor, you will find a spare tire on this model, and like I mentioned, in the second row, you can get a third row as an option for this GLE. Now, as far as your passenger seat, you're going to have the same adjustments as the driver. That does also include massaging over here on this side, and we have optional 3-person memory. Now, as far as your glove box, it is nicely leather wrapped. And if we open it up, super pleasantly surprised by this. Yes, Mercedes, they gave us a huge glove box. It's really nicely felt lined, and it certainly can fit all of our coupons, so we can throw McDonald's coupons, Burger King coupons, Fazoli's, whatever. Throw it in there, and it's going to fit. Now up top, we do have a sun visor with a mirror as well as a light, and this is also the 2-part sun visor setup, so you can have it over here as well as in the front.
And just like that, you're up to 60 miles an hour.
Yes. Oh my.
So, like I mentioned at the beginning, you just have a ton of options when it comes to this GLE at this point. The 350, 450, 580, 53 AMG, and 63S AMG. So this is right there up at the top of the performance lineup. So what we've got is a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6-cylinder with Mercedes EQ boost system, which is basically a mild hybrid system.
Yeah.
All that together is going to produce 429 horsepower, 384 pound-feet of torque. So really good numbers. Plus, we've got the performance exhaust on right now.
Sounds so good.
And it sounds really, really nice.
It is quick. Wow.
Yeah, it's a 5.2 seconds 0 to 60.
And it just sounds so good.
Yeah, really, really nice exhaust, especially for, you know, a 6-cylinder. I kind of didn't expect it to sound as good as it does.
And, you know, we are just going to go ahead and do the performance aspect of this test drive. Since this is an AMG model, we will talk about, like, the comfort and all of that in just a minute, but we're heading to one of the best country roads here in Lexington to test out some of the driving dynamics for this GLE.
So going around the corners here, you can definitely tell we definitely have some sport-tuned elements compared to that standard version of the GLE. This has the standard air suspension, but of course AMG is tuned it specifically for the 53 duty. We also have the adjustable shocks, and all that stuff changes with the drive mode. So Mason, if you would like to click me into the sport drive mode, that would be nice. We've been in the comfort so far. Now the steering is pretty light here in the comfort mode, but we'll definitely see a difference once we switch to the sport mode. So immediately the engine revs up, so you have more power on demand. Yeah, and you can definitely feel the steering really tightens up. Very quick responding. You know, you can see how fast that responds. And, and it's really a confidence-inspiring setup. So we've got a 9-speed automatic transmission on board, like with the other versions. Really quick shifting. So when you put it into sport mode, like we have it in right now, you get really super fast shifts that are nice and firm. When you're in the regular mode, it just has that nice seamless nature.
Yeah.
So you just kind of blends into the background. You don't even notice it shifting at all. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, we do have the real metal paddle shifters, which is really nice touch.
Yeah, and putting the power down, you're going to have the standard 4MATIC Plus system. So that's a specific AMG performance tuned version of the 4MATIC all-wheel drive. Yes.
Yeah, responsiveness with the paddles, excellent, A+. They respond instantaneously. It's one of the things I really like about when you choose an AMG or AMG tuned model. They take the performance seriously. This is not just a body kit, this has real performance.
Oh my gosh.
It really puts a smile on your face. I mean, it really, really does. And this is, a crossover.
Yeah.
You've got all the utility and all the luxury of the regular GLE, but you got all this additional performance, which is definitely today's slam dunk.
Oh, yeah.
We don't need to reiterate. You've witnessed. You've got a lot of performance, a lot of things that are going to put a smile on your face. But like I said, still have the luxury. Now we clicked it back into the comfort mode and just kind of prepare for the more ordinary part of owning one of these vehicles, and that's just going to be your everyday driving, cruising down the highway, stuff like that. And like we mentioned, you still have just extraordinary comfort on board here. So with the standard air suspension, the ride quality is superb, really smooth, really comfortable, and it's also really quiet. So I'll go ahead and let Mason grab a sound sample here, and
we're going
test
58 miles an hour. And it looks like we're going to be sitting around 59 decibels. So it probably is going to be a touch louder than the regular GLE if you want to go for like a 450 or a 350. It's probably going to be a little bit quieter since I do hear a little bit of engine noise.
Now if you're paying attention, you'll notice that the engine actually turns off before we even come to a stop. So this is part of that EQ boost, which we mentioned earlier. So EQ boost powers advanced auto start stop. So it allows it to do things like shut the engine off while you're still in motion, which really does a fantastic job of disguising auto start stop because you don't feel it while you're still in motion. It also helps the vehicle to launch off initially. So again, you don't feel that auto start stop. And it can boost power by 21 horsepower and 184 pound-feet of torque on a temporary basis. So there's really a lot of benefits to the EQ boost. But yeah, most impressively is just how seamlessly all of it works together. Frankly, it's the best in mild hybrids right now. So Mercedes has really just done an A+ job on this.
And since we were mentioning that, I guess we could talk about the fuel economy. So for the 350 model, that's going to be right at 22 combined, 450, 21 combined, and then this 53 isn't going to be much worse, coming in at 19 combined. So really a pretty impressive fuel economy for a vehicle with this performance. Now, if you're really paying attention, you know we didn't say an airball, and that's because we're waiting to the pricing section to say the airball, because that's going to be today's airball. Now, I'll qualify it by saying pretty much any Mercedes is expensive, but I do think that this GLE can get quite pricey, and it's going to put it out of the league of something like more ordinary, like a Lexus RX customer. So for this GLE, you're going to start at $57,250 for the 350, $62,500 for the 450. The 580 is $77,600. This 53 AMG is $72,350, and then you have the 63S AMG at $113,950. Now on this one's specific sticker, as you would expect, Mercedes has plenty of options, and we selected quite a few of those. So there's a lot on here, plus the destination charge of $1,050 brings this one as tested to $91,235.
But in conclusion, like Mason just said, this is really an SUV that seems to deliver just about everything you could possibly ask for. Yes, it is expensive, but you know, you really get a sense behind the wheel and this overall experience. Like, if anything feels worth $90,000, this really does feel worth $90,000 if that's the type of vehicle you're shopping for. You know, it's extremely impressive what Mercedes is able to deliver as a whole package with both, you know, utility, luxury, and performance.
Well guys, thanks for watching this in-depth review of the 2021 Mercedes-Benz GLE 53 AMG. We really appreciate you watching, and if you made it this far in the video, I know that means you enjoyed at least a little bit, so be sure to pay us back by hitting that subscribe button down below. It doesn't cost you a thing, and all it's going to do is give you notifications on all of our most recent content. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.